Ready for your donkey moment? Are you an apathetic faith zombie? Maybe you're a willful agnostic anarchist and you just happen to come across this here. Or perhaps you're a pious religious know-it-all. Obey his call. And maybe you can avoid a donkey moment altogether. Then again,
welcome to Iron.
this is Unscripted.
Completely unscripted. And here we are again with the dreaded coffee mug.
The cup.
So who's going to do the honors this time?
Well, see, I don't remember who did it last time, so.
Okay. There it is. It's one word. Obey.
Oh, fun.
This can go a ton of different directions.
You realize we say that almost every time.
I know, right?
That's such a big topic. It could go so many directions.
You're right, we do that, don't we?
Yeah.
Because every topic is like, let's describe the Bible, though, too. There's so many different things. So.
True. It's so deep that everything's going to be endless.
Yeah.
Except for our little pea brains. We'll find out.
Exactly.
All right, so obey.
Obey. 5 minutes.
See you in 5.
All right.
We're back.
Quick 5 minutes as always.
As always, a quick 5 minutes. Does it get faster, or is it me? I'm thinking.
It seems like it's faster, but
Time warp.
time warp is a good way of saying it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what did you come up with?
The word obey. Oh, that's right. You already said that. Darn.
I came up with that.
Oh, man. Now I got to keep up.
Okay.
Okay, so I like to go to the words and see, where they start off. And when I researched obey, you know what the first thing I came up with? Shema.
Shema.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hear and obey.
Hear and obey. So what's that make you think of? The Shema.
Right.
Right? Devarim or Deuteronomy 6:4.
Mm-hmm.
So for people that haven't, maybe are newer and haven't heard it, get the pun there? Hear, obey.
Moving on.
If I'm obedient, you can tell that I heard by my actions without me saying anything. Whereas and that's more of a Hebraic approach, whereas in a Greek mental kind of approach or linear approach, I'm saying, well, I heard the sound waves came in my ears.
Right.
And the train just kind of stops on the tracks right there.
Right. We were at our fellowship. I'm trying to stay in track with you. I think I am. But at our fellowship not long ago, I had the youth upstairs, and we were talking, and there's a difference between hearing and listening.
Well, what is that difference?
Well, like if thunder is outside and it just rumbles, well, you hear it, but you aren't listening for it. Listening is where you apply yourself to hear, where hearing can just happen spontaneously. Earthquake, whatever. If someone drops something out in the next room, you hear it. You weren't listening for it, but you heard it. But if you're having to pay attention to listen to something, a still quiet voice or whatever, so there's a difference between that. And I think at first, Yahweh's voice is always going to be, you hear it. You don't have to be listening for it. Okay? And then the call is to repent. And each time, if we don't, that voice gets quieter and quieter and quieter. And then to the point where you don't hear it. And then you have to, and then I think there are times when Yahweh, in our walk to learn to grow in trust in Him, He quiets His voice to force us to do what? To quiet ourselves, to listen to Him.
Yeah, if you're making a lot of noise and you whisper, I got to be quiet to hear what you're saying.
Right.
You want to get somebody's attention? Whisper.
Right. There you go. What?
Okay.
And then they go, what?
Yeah.
Now they're listening.
Right.
They have to apply. So that was just something as you were talking there. Didn't mean to really.
No, that's right.
Okay.
No. This is. I like going a different direction, and
Yeah.
that's what this is about. Really rubbing off each other and going, oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Right,
Now where do we take that one? So pregnant pause.
What do I say? Okay. Well, what were some verses that you thought of when you were going on the Shema?
Well, I'm going down the line of here is action. Hearing is not just the sound waves. Hearing is someone watching the evidence that I heard it by the actions that I display.
I'm with you.
So it's behavior.
So it's because of your action, we know you heard it.
Right.
Okay.
Now, tying in what you just said, what came to mind was Paul, excuse me.
Okay.
We all have our donkey moments, or should. Mm-hmm. His donkey moment was an actual donkey.
Right.
He got bumped off it.
Indeed.
Very much got his attention. Was that a soft whisper or something loud?
Loud. Right.
Do you know, and I haven't looked at it, but do you know if he had any whispers prior to that? I don't even know if Bible records it.
Nothing records it. That's the first one. He even says that's when he first met, per se, and acknowledged him as Lord.
Acknowledged, yeah.
You know, because when in fact, it was that was Stephen. Everyone laid their coats.
Yeah, that's Stephen.
Right. So, but even still, he would have had to have seen Yeshua, because we're just talking, within that same time frame. Paul wasn't an infant.
He wasn't.
So he had to at least know Yeshua. Everyone knew he was in Jerusalem.
Right.
Yeah,
the guy's in Jerusalem.
Right, as a Pharisee.
Yes.
So he knew, but to what degree? You know what I'm saying?
I can't help but believe that as well as he knew Torah, and witnessing right there, picking up the clothes with Stephen, that Yah isn't whispering to him all the way. And I'm looking at the opposite of what you were saying, is where he's loud, he gets softer. I wonder if he doesn't crescendo rather than deconscendo. What's that the word? Deconscendo. I'm not a musician, you can tell.
I'm going
the other way. The downside, there's a
crescendo and descendo. Is it?
I don't know.
I know crescendo, but I don't know about descendo.
So getting louder and getting less loud.
Okay.
Decrescendo. I think that's it. There we go.
I call it getting quieter.
Getting quieter. Here, I was trying to use a musical term, and that really worked out well. So it gets, I think he gets louder as well, because to serve his purposes, he needs to get our attention, not just the other way around.
Right. Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. But let's look at that example with Paul. Okay. Because, like you said, that on the donkey moment, he gets knocked off. But wouldn't you consider the mere fact of Yeshua walking in the streets, doing all this stuff? That's the first yelling moment in your ears, because here he's seeing it. It's like, you can't get any louder than that. It's right in your face, and he's seeing it. But because he's so blinded with his own worldview, his own traditions, he's been taught up and believed, he was completely blinded by what he was seeing and hearing from his authorities, if you will. Yahweh had to get him alone, and on his own little, I'm off on my own thing doing it, and then all of a sudden he pulls the rug out from underneath his feet, if you will.
That to me is a crescendo. I mean, he saw Messiah.
Right.
But like you said, it's still there, so you have to up the ante.
Right.
So had he, even if getting knocked off, could he have possibly even denied at that point? I mean, that seems like, who would say no to that? Who would go, well, you're definitely not him, and this is a massive implication.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. But I think everyone gets that moment at one time or another, and what we do after that is what the peer pressure, you name it, is what's going to determine our walk of sticking to it. I call it stick-to-itiveness. How many times does the Father, when we know what He said to us, but then we fail, and so it's keeping with it.
Could He have somehow not shamad at that point? His behavior. I mean, he gets knocked off his donkey. He has, everybody hears the voice, right? The people around him, don't they?
I thought. Did they hear? They didn't see anything.
They didn't see anything, but they heard.
I can't remember.
I thought that
I would have to
because
look it
they
up.
didn't see it.
Okay.
But I believe that's the case.
I thought it was just the opposite. I thought he was the only one who heard and saw, and everyone else was going like, "What's wrong with this dude?"
Okay. Do you want to look while I'm talking and see if we can catch up with it?
Okay.
So if that's the case, how could you not follow? Because then he says, "Hey, by the way, you're also going to be blind for 3 days."
Right.
And then we're going to lead you there, and then that is such a significant thing. How could you say, "Well, you were just kidding"?
Right.
I must have just dreamt that. I don't think so. So I haven't thought of it in that light before.
Right.
And so there are people that have donkey moments that I don't think you can ignore them. And then perhaps most of us have those moments where you can choose to ignore it.
I got your point here, too, on Acts 9:7. The men traveling with Saul stood there speechless. They heard the sound, but did not see anyone.
Okay.
So, yeah, so they heard it, but they didn't see anything.
The word heard there, what is that word in Greek?
Yeah, 1 second.
Kuo. This is the same word.
Akuo, yeah.
Okay. And that corresponds
I was gonna
to
say, yeah.
quite a few different words, but Strong's 8085, Shema.
Mm-hmm. So he heard.
He heard. And they heard.
They heard. But they didn't see.
Who are the men traveling with Shaul there?
Well, this says, it didn't say specifically.
I wonder if it says
This is
earlier.
the men traveling with him. I'm looking here. Meanwhile, Saul was still breathing out murderous threats. This is 9:1.
It would be interesting if we knew who those people were, those men were, if they shemad at that point, what was the outcome of their experience of that?
You know, it's funny you say that because we watched the movie Jesus from the play in Branson. And you see where Peter cuts off the ear of, his name is Malchus, actually given in the scriptures.
Oh.
And I know this because I did a monologue of him years ago I wrote. And it's where you see, here's this guy who's the servant of the high priest for all these years, and he's right there with him, breathing out the murderous threats, to kill Yeshua. And all of a sudden, here Yeshua's servant cuts off his ear. So you got the servant against the servant, if you will.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But then Yeshua heals him right there. And my monologue took it towards that's what changed him. And in the monologue, forgive me, I got to share this because
Sure, go ahead.
Here he is holding his ear, now holding where his ear was. So there's blood all over him. Okay, and in this you see where the second Yeshua heals him, he's in shock, in his awe, doesn't know what to do, while everyone else is still in chaos mode and taking Yeshua away. And of course he's trying to keep up, but he's thinking, this dude just healed me type thing. So from the rest of the trial and all this stuff, he's in the background. He's not with everybody else. And they don't even notice him missing because they've got the man they want.
And he's a servant anyway.
Right. So it was when Pilate, he says, I washed my hands of his blood. And it was when Pilate says that, he looks down, he sees the blood on his hands. And it just changed his whole... Then the monologue, and it goes to all this stuff. It's really cool. I need to redo that sometime. Maybe I'll do it for Sukkot. But it changed him. So back to what you were saying with these guys traveling with Saul, did they hear? What was the impact on them? Because they're in the scriptures, or no one thinks about them. Right. No one thinks about Malchus after this point. He's and then that's it. How many side stories are there in the scriptures that can write 100 books that we could learn from, but yet we don't hear those stories? You know what I'm saying? That Yeshua impacted.
Steve, we are all servants. And our obedience should be a witness to everybody else. All those other servants that go, wow, look at that. He was healed.
But it's the obedience that is the witness.
Yes. They're observing us. It's our obedience that proves it out.
Absolutely. I have a saying, witness daily. When necessary, use words. But with that, we all witness. We're either a good witness or we're a bad witness. Either way, you're a witness.
Yeah.
And your obedience or lack thereof determines if it's good or bad. And to know
fear and trembling.
Well, to know that you might be a bad witness that pushes somebody away, and then their rejection falls on you because of your or your arrogance, Yeah.
That's
kind of like, we need to be thinking twice about the things we say, we do, we act, everything,
Everything, every word, every action. I mean, facial expressions.
Yes.
You think about that, and it's so easy just to, roll your eyes or just have a look. And granted, people can misperceive or have different perceptions of those, and misunderstandings happen.
Yeah.
But even then, to be humble and say, I'm sorry if I did that, because I can see how that could have come off as angry or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
So then, obedience has been, oh, go ahead. You had something.
Well, I was just going to say, when I was a kid, a teenager, we had a Sunday school teacher. She was actually a really cool person, but her face, she had dark eyes, okay, just her facial feature. And if you didn't know her, you would think she's a mean person because and her natural face wasn't always having a smile. It was just plain, if you will, and stuff. And one of the youth workers was saying, well, I didn't know her. I thought she was a mean person. But then when I got to know her, I go, oh, she's actually really cool. So it's like going back to the perception element. We can't change how people perceive us, but our prayer is that they will see us and get to know us. But I don't know, is that making any sense? There's some things...
Yes, judging a book by the cover. We all do that.
Yes.
I've heard it said in the sales side, you buy with your eyes. Right?
Yeah.
You still look at something, oh, it's a great looking car. Man, it looks like it's going to be fast. But you get in, it's garbage inside and plastic and bad fuel economy, etc.
Right.
So if we're judging by the cover, could it be then that our obedience overrides some of those shortcomings of our expressions, etc. So let's say, etc. So if I've got a countenance that somebody might perceive as stern or something, but I'm helping a little child in a very tender moment, that obedience should override those other book cover things.
Yep.
Inversely, if we're just, Mr. Happy and smiling and everybody thinks we're just the greatest thing and we just lie and steal something, people go, wait a minute.
Right. Watching the fruit.
Yeah.
As I always say, it comes down to the fruit. Faith is the root, but obedience is the fruit. You can say you believe all you want until you prove it in the fruit, and that's what we're supposed to be judging.
Yeah.
We don't judge someone if they're going to hell. Well, you don't know that, or whatever the case. But we do judge the fruit to know if that's the person we want to hang around with. Because if they don't have good fruit, I don't want that bad fruit rubbing off on me.
Right. And we talked earlier today about, or maybe last night, I forget, about James and how, works, deeds, you got to have them.
Yeah.
And somehow in our listening to the forefathers, works became a dirty word.
Yeah. I know.
Even, oh man, think about it. Even in the vernacular of the day, you go, hey buddy, don't work too hard. Why? Shouldn't be, hey, go knock them out. Go work your tail off.
Right.
And we got that backwards.
That's right. That's a good point.
So where did obedience start?
It's interesting you say that. Because I have it written down, well, as far as I think of the importance, this is Genesis 26:5.
Okay.
Because Abraham obeyed me, kept my requirements, my commands, my decrees, and my laws. So here's Abraham, the father of the faith, obeyed. That's to me, that's huge. That's foundational to us. Should be foundational to us.
Let's see. He had a great, I'm trying to think how many greats. I'm going to get it wrong. Grandfather.
Okay.
That obeyed.
Noah.
Older
than Noah? Oh, well, yeah. Okay. You can go all of them.
Go back to the first one. So
Adam. But he disobeyed too.
He did.
Well, of course he did.
Yeah, he did. But Genesis, Bereshit 3:8. And they heard the voice of Yahweh Elohim.
Who's they? Okay, so you're talking Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
Okay.
They heard. Guess what that word heard is? Shema. So I'm thinking that indicates they heard, they obeyed, their obedience was at that point.
They shemad. I would believe that. I'm with that.
Okay, now if that's the case, and we know that not all verses, because there were no verses or chapters, not all of it is in a linear progression chronologically. So we have to be a little careful there, because that's chapter 3, verse 8, and they've just made a mistake and they haven't heard. They haven't obeyed. And then they hide themselves.
Right.
And isn't it like us, just slight tangent on obedience, that if we're disobedient, we kind of get mixed up about what's the scary part there. Because like with them, they say, well, Yah says, so where are you? Does he not know where they are? No.
He knows where they're at.
Yeah, it's not, why are you not alongside me like we used to be here? Why are you not walking like we walked? That's my interpretation. And he said, this is in verse 10, so Bereshit or Genesis 3:10. And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid myself. Is that what he really should be afraid about?
Right.
No, he should be afraid that he disobeyed. But he's thinking, well, this is because I don't have any clothes on. It's a result. So we even get confused about what our disobedience is. Maybe that shows how confused we are about what our obedience should be.
Okay, I'm going to bunny trail us here.
Okay.
Just before we started this, you read an article, showed us an article of what's going on in the public schools. I ain't going to say it because it was really bad. Couldn't believe it, actually. But we're looking, and we even said, man, this is Sodom and Gomorrah all over again. I mean, it's gotten that bad. And I just couldn't believe it. Now, here's a society that at one time, I know you can go, there's lots of debate, well, America had the Christian roots. Well, they really weren't Christian roots, or whatever you want to call it, you know.
Right.
Bottom line is, the people we know had the heart to serve and obey at one time in this country. And now look at us today, you know. And just a little bit of disobedience, a little bit here, a little bit there, and it just compounds and it compounds. Yes, maybe not right away, but it does what you accept. I have a teaching from a long time ago where I have a picture of, you know, a cross here, and I say, okay, we're going to say this cross represents truth, okay? And then here you draw a circle around it. This is the generation that accepts truth. Well, then you get the next generation comes on, and then the center of that circle is just outside of this center. But it's not centered. And with each generation, it gets farther away from truth. And they say, well, you know, you guys we still believe what mom and dad believe, but, you know, they're too little too extreme for me. So they go a little farther out with each generation. And the farther away we get from the truth, obedience, the farther and farther away we get away from him. You know, and it's just the obedience. We're really good at making excuses. I mean, we are really good at it.
Wait, the woman, the one you gave me, she did it. Right. And then she says, well, it was a snake.
Yeah,
it was the serpent guy over here. It wasn't me.
Right. We're passing the buck,
we
man.
You know, it reminds me of our Star Trek metaphor earlier when we started.
What was that?
Well, you know, I'm thinking of outer space.
Star Trek metaphor. We had a metaphor on Star Trek?
I think we did.
Okay.
I think we did. Or else I'm thinking of another teaching. Anyway, so if not, stick with me here.
Okay.
Keep up, Steve. So you get your telescope out, and you're looking at the moon. And so you zero it in. It's just like it's on one crater, and that's so cool. And then, you know, your son comes up and accidentally bumps the leg, and it moves just the slightest. You can't even tell it moved.
Right.
And yet you're not even on the moon out there anymore. So it changes things so far out in the distance that it's hard to get back to the same place. And I think, using that metaphor, I think that's what we see is the farther we get away, the harder it is to get back. And we need those donkey moments.
Yes.
Now, we don't desire them because they hurt. You fall off your donkey, who knows what you're landing in? I mean, you know, this could be a messy deal.
That's for sure, right?
And especially if you go face down, then you're blind also. You can't see.
Right.
So if that happens, well, it's got to happen, I guess is what I'm saying. To your point, and yeah, you can look it up yourself. See what the state of New Jersey is requiring in their schools. Unbelievable. And I'm sure there's other places as well. How can judgment not come? How can it not be that we're going to see judgment? And that brings me to a verse in 1 Peter 4:17. Because it is time for judgment to begin from the house of Elohim, God, and if firstly from us, what is the end of those who do not obey the good news of Elohim, of God? That's scary times.
Indeed.
Yeah, that goes back to fear and trembling. And gosh, can you imagine being so lost that you don't even know that you should have fear and trembling? Oh, just thank you, Father, that our eyes have been opened some way, sometime. And, you know, Steve, if I could, it's like we have to be reminded. Because, of course, you know, I'm sure you were a perfect son for your parents. But for me, I had to be reminded by, you know, the sticks in the closet. Right. We're going to use it on you.
Exactly.
No, that's child abuse. No, I earned respect or learned respect that way.
That's right.
And they earned it.
That's right. That's right. We had the yardstick.
Yeah.
Oof. I was chased my mom down the street one time with that thing. Yeah.
Were you faster?
Yeah, that's how I learned to be fast. Okay, on to more happier things right
now. Yes.
Yeah. You know, the element of obedience is, I have a teaching that's even called law-abiding citizen.
Wait, hold it. You have a teaching?
Yeah, believe it or not.
I've never heard you use that phrase before. I think that's great.
The law-abiding citizen. Everyone wants to be the law-abiding citizen, but when it comes to the Bible, you're just a legalist.
Great point.
Mm-hmm.
Great point. Oh my gosh. That's like any of those blanket statements. Well, you're a Judaizer.
Right.
Or you're, legalist.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's a shame. But, and to your point, it's like, okay, let's just say we claim to be a believer.
Okay.
Well, then if you do that, the verse you just read a second ago, judgment's coming to you just the same.
Mm-hmm.
The world's going to have their time.
Sure.
But, dude, judgment starts in the house of God.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you say you believe, okay, here it comes.
Everybody's
when the time comes.
Right. Everybody says, I want to be like David. Man after God's own heart. Right on. Yeah. Did he suffer any consequences? Was he judged for anything that he did wrong?
Oh, my goodness.
Absolutely.
That's so funny. I'm working on a teaching right now, and where it talks about how with David, how he is the perfect picture of the believers in the end times. And they will be persecuted by the Antichrist. He was upright. He was obedient at that time, mind you. And he was called, appointed, and where did he have to go? Flee out into the wilderness. Okay, and where did Yeshua say? Go. When you see Jerusalem surrounded, go to the, and then who's going to be in Jerusalem? The Antichrist.
Yeah.
And now, granted, it wasn't Jerusalem then. It was, I forgot the name of the city then where they had headquartered at that time. But Paul was there. And so it was a perfect image. Here's the obedient son, and he has to flee. And so it's like there's going to come a time when obedience is going to be frowned upon. In fact,
it already is.
Yeah. Even in the church, So it's like, oy.
Oy vey. Well, you know what? And I don't know if I can get this out of my brain succinctly. But we talk about obedience and obeying the law in the United States. And without going too far afield, we substitute let's call it 1,200 different commands. 613, that's not 613, it's some other number. But that's right. Let's not quibble over that.
Right.
There aren't many when you look at all of them. And we substitute those, we eradicate those, and then we make tens of thousands of laws.
Under the
rules,
U.S. government.
Regulations. I don't even know what they all are.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm probably breaking some I don't even know it.
Right.
And who has the ability to understand and follow those? Because they just get too complex.
Oh, man.
And so as we obey them or try to our best, there's shifting sands. It keeps changing. And it's, I just read where just the other day there was a 7-point-something earthquake in Mexico, Mexico City area or somewhere down there. And the result of that, thousands of miles away, I think it was thousands, up in Death Valley, there's some kind of a deep lake hole thing up there. I don't even know what it is, but it's in the park. And there were 4-foot waves on that 100-foot deep, like submerged lake because of what happened in Mexico.
No way.
Yeah. So when we say, well, that thing that's happening, across on the other side of the nation, that's not going to affect me. That thing that's happening over on the other side of the way, it doesn't affect me. Hey, you know what? We really are all in this together. And yet we all seem like think we're all in this alone together.
Well, we think we're on our own little island.
Yeah, and nothing like this ever happened to me, and nothing's going to happen to me because we just have this deniable, the negativity bias or something? That's not going to happen to me.
Right.
Everybody else.
Yeah, never happens to me. But then when it does, you can't imagine it.
Right. We've kind of been going in the middle, back and forth. We've been to the Brit, the New Testament. We've been back to Bereshit, Genesis. What about Revelation?
Haha. I got that verse already pulled up.
Okay, which one?
12:17.
Oh.
Yeah.
I got a different one. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Mine says, Then the dragon was enraged at the woman and went off to make war against the rest of her offspring, those who obey God's commandments and hold to the testimony of Jesus.
Yes.
So they obey the commandments of Yahweh. And that again goes back to the David-Saul thing. Here's Saul being the Antichrist ruling, and David running out to the wilderness. And then here you have, who does the dragon go against and pursue? Those who obey the commandments of Yahweh.
Yes. And then a
I have
slightly...
another teaching on that.
You got to teach it to me sometimes.
Yeah, right.
So, and the, I would say, sister verse to that, Revelation 14:12, here's the endurance of the set-apart ones.
That's right.
Here are those guarding the commands of Elohim and the belief of Yeshua. So we've got this aspect of we've got to guard what he wants to do. We've got to care for it. I mean, you guard things that you care for and hold dear.
That's right.
So we have to do that. I took it a slightly different way and went to Revelation 3:20. And I'm going down the hear approach. Once again, this is the same Greek word, hear.
3:20? Okay.
3:20. And they use it, here's my voice. I'll talk about it in a second. Same Greek word that matches up with Shema.
Okay.
If you look. And there's others, but this is the primary that I see.
Right.
Verse 20, see, I stand at the door and knock. And if anyone hears my voice, let's just say obeys, hears and obeys my voice and opens the door, I shall come into him and dine with him and he with me.
Just got done talking to the church of Laodicea there, too.
So, well, go ahead because...
No, I'm just saying that's the most worldly church of all.
There you go. That's what I was looking for is
Yeah.
what your thought process was.
Well, and two, a lot of times, and I've said this many times before, but when people look at the 7 churches of Revelation, they think they're all like seven equal churches. Not the case.
No.
Just like in today's world and society, in whatever town you go to, you're going to have a small little church and you get the big mega churches. Same principle with the 7 churches. And I see personally the Church of Laodicea as your mega church. And if you go to a mega church, don't take this offensively. But all I can say is they're the ones who are most accepting of all. We just accept everybody thing, And well, I'm sorry. Yeshua says narrow is the path, not wide. And
don't turn to the left or right.
Right. And that doesn't mean every small church is right either. I'm not saying that.
Oh, right.
But my point is when you look into 7 churches, I don't see them as all equal in size. And,
Well, and because of that, in those 7 churches, I'm moving to Pennsylvania. Philadelphia specifically. Just saying.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
And to me, it's interesting. If anyone hears, obeys my voice, okay, part of obedience, as we said, was someone watching us. And do you know what another English definition for Shema is? Witness. And I think that's a tie-in that I haven't really paid attention to in the past. I think about, okay, I heard it. I'm doing my best to follow and obey.
Right.
But it's having those eyes as if you were someone else looking at you.
Right.
And saying, okay, what is my witness? What does that look like to other people? Because let's face it, I probably don't know most of the people that are looking and watching what I'm doing. I don't know.
Well, as you said that, with the word witness.
Yeah.
The word that's in, what it is, witnesses is in the Greek?
What?
Several variations, but martyr or martus, it's all from being martyred. And
interesting.
So you're being martyred because why? The way you live. And that's what witness means, how you live. And there are several different ones. One here is simply, it's martus. And so it's, where we get the word martyr from.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of positive and negative connotations of martyr. Does anyone want to be, within our worldview, does anyone want to be a martyr?
No.
I don't think so.
Death is like frowned upon.
Well, sure.
By the general world. But if you really look at it, it's the ultimate goal. Now you don't want to die because you want to live in, we want to move forward and be blessed and walk in his blessings and stuff, what have you. But at the same time, we don't fear death.
Yeah,
You know
exactly. And I think we've talked about, I don't know if it was on or off camera, I'm looking forward to graduation.
Amen.
I have a different perspective than I did, 20 years ago.
Right.
I'm not going to be sad. I'm going to be waiting. I'm going to be sleeping or I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like, I'm good with that.
Amen.
It's just the people that are left behind.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
There's I just heard this story last night when I went up and saw some friends, stayed up above here. And I heard secondhand the witness, I guess it's up on YouTube if I'm not mistaken, of a Muslim young woman who not only accepted Messiah, but then came to Torah, and how her father gave her 30 days to repent and denounce. Every day he'd go at her, and she was obedient to the word. She was obedient. She was obedient. And the day before, he was going to kill her. I believe, if I've got the story right, her mom helped her escape and got out. Just amazing. I haven't been through that kind of persecution. And from your own parents.
Right.
It seems to me somewhere Yeshua said something about, you're going to be turned in. You're going to be persecuted by your own family members, right? That gets to be tough times.
Oh, man. And it's so weird because it wasn't until I came to Torah that verse came alive to me.
Really?
Yeah. Because I know with our family, Bible would all be, any topic in the Bible could be brought up at any time. But the second I came to Torah, no one wanted to talk Bible around me.
Boy.
And it's like, well, it's taboo. They don't bring it up. And so therefore I don't bring it up anymore. But that's sad. But you see the element of already division happening right there. And they don't see it, but I see it plain and simple. I'm standing on what he said. And, but they'll just say, well, you're just following, Jewish stuff or whatever. I'm going, no, I'm following God's stuff.
Yeah.
This is his word, not Jew stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't get it, And but even in that, you can't force something on somebody. You pray. Yeah. And until the Father opens their eyes, you keep living the best that you can in obedience. But we got to make sure we don't let arrogance creep into any of us. It's
easy
because you can say, "Well, I'm obeying and you're not." You can't do that.
I've got the truth. I looked up the Paleo Hebrew.
Right.
We're still doing our best, and it's imperfect.
That's right.
You know what that made me? I made a note while you were talking here. That would be a great topic to discuss because I know people that I've talked to, and you all out there, have encountered instances within your family or outside where people just don't want to go there. And what are some tools? How can we approach people? It'd be fun to come up with some different scenarios and brainstorm that ahead of time.
Yeah.
And say, what if you're in this? How would you handle that?
Let's work on a teaching for that.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
And helpful, I believe.
I agree.
You know what? In fact, I just remember this. You have a 9-part series where you're responding to who you can talk to it.
Rob Solberg.
Yeah.
That was the Torahism series.
Yes. And I found that, now granted, I was, on the editing side, but I found myself starting to pay attention to the content and not doing my editing. Oops, hey, I missed that, blip or whatever.
Right.
Because I was so intrigued by, here's how I can use what you're going through and talking about to witness to other people. I think that's really valuable.
We've had a lot of comments on that series.
Good comments?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, well, yeah. But the sad part, when I was listening to that interview, oh my gosh, my blood was boiling.
I bet.
It was. I'm going, you are so misconstruing the scriptures and people are believing what you're saying. That's why I felt I had to make a response. And he was talking about at one point how people are coming to him. These people are following the Torah and they got all these scriptures and they sound so good. But, and then he goes, no, don't follow them because, and I'm going, no, listen to them,
Right.
And
well, he even said, if I remember right, that, those Hebrew roots people really know their Bibles.
Yes.
Remember that?
I know. I'm going, hello.
Well, he hasn't had his donkey moment yet.
Right.
And we should pray that he does.
Exactly.
And that we all continue to have our donkey moments.
I just had an email from someone today when came in, and I got a chance to read this one, and she said where she was so thankful for that series, and she sent it to the livingwaters.com people, hoping that they would listen to it. And I wish they would, because I think, I wish they would listen to it, whether they get it or not, and I'm like anybody else. I'm flesh and blood. I'm nobody perfect, or any way, shape, or form.
Oh, but man, you're strong too, dude.
You're funny. But I wish that they would listen to it and not listen to me. Listen to what the Bible says.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've always said, since coming to Torah anyway, if you want to understand the back of the book, i.e. the New Testament, you got to understand the New Testament, the Old Testament, the front of the book. Who reads a novel just going straight to the middle of the book and then going forward. You
Hey,
don't.
Steve, we're going to watch a movie tonight. Can we just watch the last 5 minutes?
Yeah,
Are
right.
you okay with that?
Exactly. You can't do that.
I'm looking forward to the end, though, Steve, and it'll come faster if I just read the end.
Just go to the end, right? Exactly.
Revelation's all I read. I'm for the rest of that stuff.
Right.
But if I could, let's go back to Revelation, because
Okay.
we talked about Revelation 3:20. 3:21 is interesting, and I think that's an aspect of obedience we have to make sure we consider.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
To him who overcomes the key word there, I shall give to sit with me on my throne, as I also overcame and sat down with my Father on his throne. We have to overcome. What are we overcoming?
Ourselves.
Our disobedience.
It really is.
And why couldn't I
Disobedience,
see that?
i.e. we should obey topic here.
Right.
Right.
Right. Why didn't I see that before? Why was obedience such a bad word? Just like works.
Well, and that goes in in case I go too far off here. I remember when we had children for the first time, jokingly.
I was going to say you still do.
I know, right? Well, when we, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Jokingly, like every other dad would say, in the hospital, okay, like, where's the instruction manual? Okay. Well, the point being is, though, we've got the instruction manual. And not only, and even though we knew that even then, how much more so do I know it now? There are instructions that Yahweh has given to us. And that's another thing. We look at the word Torah, everyone calls it law. In reality, it's better defined as instructions or even direction, I would even call it, because it's when we look at it, it's like pointing, shooting the arrow, and he's giving us the direction of how to live, that being the Torah. And so we have that. And you said something a second ago. I was going, going to dovetail with that. Now I think I totally flew us off the wrong way.
No, that's right. And there was something there, and I started to write it down, and then you stopped talking. And then I realized that I didn't know where I was going either. And so we must be obedient to our topic.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
So let's obey back to the...
So we have to overcome.
Yes.
And that's overcoming our own disobedience, which means we have to know we should be obedient, which is not a dirty word.
Correct.
And we have to, through our works, not a dirty word,
Yes.
display the right witness to everyone, because we don't know who's watching.
Yep.
Well, we know who's always watching. And that's the most important reason.
Right.
And then because we love him.
Correct.
The second most important reason, because we love the people around us. Love is obedience too.
True.
We tend to make it pretty squishy. In fact, if we take the world's view, it's sexual. If we take the biblical view, it's obedience. And maybe that's where the root of misunderstanding is in works, obedience, and Torah. Because I can't tell you how many times I've had people tell me, I think we talked about it off camera, that they would just flat out call me a Judaizer. I felt so insulted.
Right.
And I thought, well, I'm not Jewish.
Right.
Why do you say that?
Right. I know.
Oh, you're trying to earn your salvation.
But you're trying to be a Jew.
Yeah.
And there were more than the tribe of Judah around the mountain when you gave the instructions. And then, in fact, not just the 12 tribes. There were the mixed multitude that came with them. Hello. I think, and starting to wrap this up too, I think with remembering obedience, don't obey in arrogance. That's, you will completely deplete your witness to anyone.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I think even to Yahweh would be disgusted at you, at us. If we have an arrogant view of, I'm obeying, you are not. And I'm reminded of the verse in Luke 17. It says, so you also, when you have done everything you were told to do, should say, we are unworthy servants. We have only done our duty.
Yes.
Unworthy. We are gifted with the ability to follow and understand and pursue in obedience. He showed you. That doesn't make you more special. That makes you more accountable. And people forget that, And I there's just man, I just did a teaching on humility not long ago, and I had one guy respond to me, "You're just like any other YouTube preacher preaching humility," and I'm going, "Yeah, maybe you need it." You know?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going like, dude,
Be humble.
Yeah, right. I'm going like, to me, we all need to be reminded, I think, to be humble. Even if, no matter how humble you think you are or you aren't, or whatever, we should, I guess all I'm saying is, there's an element of being reminded of things. We should allow ourselves to be reminded.
Oh, yeah.
Don't look at a topic and say, "Oh, I've covered it already." Dude, don't. Because the Father may take you to a new level of that of that topic.
Steve, I know what I know. I'm now set in stone, and I have no wiggle room to learn more because I just know it.
You know it all.
Yeah.
I'm not worried.
Oh, I didn't say that. I just know what I know. I'm firm in my, in your fact that you don't want to learn anymore.
Right.
May we never be like that.
Amen.
And may we never be disobedient. We probably will be at times. We're going to slip.
But if we do,
we
should always be there to say, "Bring me back, Father." Don't be the prodigal son and go off on your own way.
Right.
Be
Be sure you come back.
Amen. And even then, he learned and then he obeyed.
Yeah.
He came back.
Yeah.
Shamad.
Yeah.
This
has been a good time.
It's been a good time.
I always learn every single time we
Me
talk,
too.
and I like this aspect
Amen.
of it. So we appreciate you learning along with us, too, hopefully.
And we hope you did anyway.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I love you.
I love you too, brother.
All right.
Shalom.